just had trouble getting on,
with video. Okay.
had trouble get.
Are we all set?
You got it.
Okay. All right. So calling to order the pro meeting for April 5th, 2023. We're going to call to order, and we're just going to start with the approval of minutes. The March minutes. Did everybody get a copy of that? Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. Everybody in favor of the March 2023 minutes? Aye.
Aye.
Do I have any
Aye.
objections? Okay. We're going to start with Owen in a minute. I just wanted to make a comment as we get ready for the public comment. I forgot to put on the agenda, and I just thought this would be a good time before we lose anybody by the end of the meeting. There is going to be a cleanup day in White Clay Creek and in Franklin Township on April 22nd. That's Earth Day. Jeff, have you heard from anybody about volunteers or?
We've had some people call. I think we'll have a good day. We'll have an orientation at the township through John Auerbach. He's volunteered to do that, and I think it'll be a good day.
Okay, and you'll have the volunteer forms and we can get people signed up and get them to sign those forms?
Absolutely, they're ready to go. I have them on a clipboard now.
Okay, awesome. All right, thank you. So we'll bring it up again at the end of the meeting, but just in case anybody has to leave early, I just wanted to make sure that everybody knew that so we can get people to come out to the township office on April 22nd. And I did see that it's on Facebook and on the township website. So, okay. Dawn, do you want to introduce Owen?
Well, yes, I'd love to. In Greg's absence, Greg had spoken apparently to Owen's mother before he left. So in Greg's absence, we got together and we said we would love to have him do the arbor. And so with that, he can do his presentation and tell us what his ideas are.
All right, so I'll share my screen for just a short presentation. Can you see that?
Yep.
Yep, looks good.
All right, so there's the current entrance to the healing garden as it is now. And my project will be installing this arbor over it and creating a path walkway for it to make the entrance better and more defined and more accessible. And here's just a rough drawing of what it would look like.
So can I ask a question?
Yep.
Would the 6 foot range, is that what it is now? The width there?
It would be widened a little bit to accommodate the arbor and the path.
Okay. So would you need to do anything with the hedgerow, the hedges there, or?
I would probably have to remove these 2 edge ones and I can replace them at the end if I need to.
I see. Okay. Thank you.
That's all for this presentation. It's just visual. And then I sent Miss Dowling the paperwork for the Eagle Scout approval.
I have a question.
Yep.
Is the arbor going to be in the hedgerow, in front of the hedgerow, behind the hedgerow?
It's going to be in between these 2 hedges in the front.
So it's going to be in the hedgerow.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. And Owen, just as a point, I'm sure Dawn explained to you, you're presenting to us, but we're just trying to help you so that you're prepared, because you eventually will have to present this to the Board of Supervisors at the next meeting, and you will need to provide them, with the information, including the write-up of any costs or any funding and how you're going to be receiving that funding. Is that something Ms. Dowling explained to you?
Yep.
Okay. And then you had a picture of some pavers. Are you changing the material? Or is it going to stay stone?
Currently, it's just a like red gravel path, and I will be installing like this paper walkway with the same papers in the picture.
Okay. I guess my only question would be like, how will that butt up to the asphalt parking lot?
It will be like a smooth transition. They'll be like cut to the angles to fit.
Okay. I don't know if Jeff or Greg or anybody would have a comment. Do we have any current concerns about that causing any runoff into the parking lot? Or Jeff, do you think that would be okay?
No, I think it would be fine. Owen would have to dig down, check what the base is. I have no idea what it is. I think realistically, unless Owen's told otherwise, I think you're probably talking 3 or 4 inches of stone base 2A that we can provide and put out there for him to put in place. But I think it's doable for Owen and, with some help with some others.
So like a stone dust base, like to put the pavers in?
Yep.
Okay. And then Owen, do you know how wide the pavers be, or will it be the whole width of the arbor, or just like 3 courses? I'm curious if you have any measurements on the pavers and the amount of materials and pavers you need. And again, all of these are just more specific questions that the Board of Supervisors are going to ask you, and they ultimately have the say.
Yep. So the walkway will be 6 inches wide, or 6 feet wide, I mean, throughout most of it, and then it will kind of widen out towards the end, and it will fill up about 3/4 of the total width of the arbor.
Okay.
Is that going to make it handicap accessible?
Yes.
Okay.
And that would be huge. That would be nice. And then what are the costs?
So the rough cost for just the materials without any donations or discounts would be around $2,500, but I will be able to get most of the pavers donated.
Okay, and then are you looking for any contribution from the township or businesses?
I'm reaching out to the businesses that I'm buying products from to see if they will donate or discount any products.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Does anybody have any further questions?
Yeah. Go ahead, Dawn.
I do have a quick question, and thank God Greg's back. When you go up into the garden and right where it says 6 feet and you take a right, the hedge has grown over the walkway. Now, I don't know in my innocence what that hedge is, what kind of plant that hedge is. Will we be able to cut that hedge back to the right? To the right. The left is not as bad, but the right is almost to the edge of the pathway. So I'm hoping, I'm hoping we can cut it back.
Dawn, so we had talked to the landscaper that did the initial clearing. Their concern was if you cut it back too much, and maybe Greg remembers this, is that it causes dead spaces. So once you cut that boxwood, it causes it to pretty much deaden and just turn. So if you see, Owen, can you go back to your original picture of the boxwood?
Yeah.
So see how it was when it was cut, Dawn, how that one section died out?
Yeah.
If you cut it along the walkway, it'll do that the whole way down.
I was afraid of that. Now you can get pretty much around the whole garden from the other end. That's the only walkway that really is hard to get
No,
through.
I agree.
Right.
And especially we had talked about wheelchairs, and I guess that's something that we might have to address. And do you remember that, Greg, when the gentleman Patrick told us from Signature?
I remember what you're saying about the shrubs. Yeah.
Yeah. So
it definitely wouldn't look great.
That can be tabled because we're doing so many other things that we can get all the way around except for that one area, which we can worry about that later.
And honestly,
Yeah.
I think when Owen cuts it, to put the arbor in, with the arbor being there, you won't see as much of the dead stuff on the sides because the
Right,
arbor
right.
will be there.
Right.
Right.
And I'm
But,
hoping to find, I've been trying to find, I'm so happy Greg's back. Did I mention that? I'm trying to find some kind of native vine that maybe we could have grow over the arbor.
Yeah, I mean, you read my mind with that. I was also thinking that I was gonna also bring it up to Owen and see if he would mind if we had some sort of, flowering vine or something that would
I might not
slowly
be
grow up there.
pronouncing it right, but was it clematis? That's
Yeah, you just gotta make sure you get the native one because there's
Yeah.
ones that are not native, and it's
Yeah.
harder to find the native for sure.
and then the native one, when it dies back, sometimes it's hard to make sure that somebody doesn't pull it to make sure that they know that that's because it does die
Right.
back pretty well. Like ours dies back, and I'm always like, don't pick it. Make sure nobody knows.
Yeah, but there's a few options. There's honeysuckle, which is a
Again.
hummingbird favorite.
You got to make sure you find the native one.
Yeah, because there's invasive ones, and that's the last thing we need to be installing. But yeah, get the native one. There's a lot of good ones that I think would really make it pop and have nice flowers on the arbor itself.
And I don't think we're putting it on Owen to choose that. I think that would be something that the Healing Gardens committee could pick. But if that's okay,
Yeah, it would be
with
later
Owen,
on.
Yeah, and that would be okay with you, Owen, if eventually that it had something growing on it.
Yes, that would be good.
Okay, and then I think we had talked about this, Greg. Will we be able to put some type of signage on this? I know we're big on the signs, but
Yeah, I was just thinking something along the lines of just a basic, possibly wood sign or whatever that just says Healing Garden, just announces what's behind the arbor and the bushes.
Well,
Owen,
and I'm sorry, that kind of leads me into my next little foray. While we're looking at this picture, I was thinking of doing the little library to the left,
Are you
right
saying
there.
in front of the hedgerow, like before the
Yeah.
garden?
Yeah, in front of the hedgerow, so people see it. And then the sign could go to the right and the little library could go to the left. We can talk about it, but that's kind of what I thought would be a really inviting entrance.
Yeah. I mean, we could do that. When I also originally thought of the library, I was thinking more, it's hard to show, but as you go in that front view, take a right, and then there's like the perimeter. There's like some open space, like dead center in the perimeter there in between.
Okay.
And it would be seen from the driveway, so you would
Okay.
see it. But
Yeah. Okay.
we can figure it out.
Right.
It's not a big
Yeah.
deal.
Okay. Well, we're all excited.
Owen, I just have one last question. What is the material that the arbor's made out of?
The arbor will be like a composite vinyl kit, so
Okay.
it will be like maintenance free. So you shouldn't
Okay,
have
and
to.
I would just make sure you include that.
Yeah.
And when you
Mhm.
present this to the Board of Supervisors, I'd maybe have a write-up of that. You're gonna have to have a write-up of the costs, the materials, like your total amount of, what do you call it, the pavers. You can contact Jeff or the township to find out what you need to put at the base underneath the pavers, but they're gonna ask you all of those specific items, and I'd be worried for you that it won't pass this time around if you don't have the numbers, the costs, and the actual material.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
so
that's-
Owen, both Dawn and I are on the board, so don't worry, we'll be nice to you. But
Okay.
but Jennifer's right. There may be some questions, and so it's not done to mess you up, but just to make sure that you have a good plan. So
And you're
they'll be there to help
prepared.
you. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
and that's kind of where you this is like your practice run.
yeah.
And, just to make it official, as I'm writing in the meeting in Greg's place, do we have everybody who's on the Board of the Pro Committee who's currently here, not the Board of Supervisor members, but the members of the Pro, does everybody support Owen's project? Have any further questions? If not, I'm going to say I recommend that Owen proceeds and presents this to the Board of Supervisors.
No, I think it's great.
Okay. Do I
When
get-
I just had one question, is it a solid material or is it hollow? Is it like a Trex or is it a hollow
question.
inside? Owen,
It's similar to Trex. The main post will be solid and it
okay,
will like slide over 4x4 posts in the ground.
Oh, good. That's good.
okay.
Did
Yeah, I
you say
know-
it's white? Is it?
Yep.
It is, okay.
Yeah, I know a main concern for a lot of the projects the Boy Scouts do is the maintenance. So it's so good to hear that this is something that should last a pretty long time because of the material you're using. So that's really good news.
Excellent. All right. Do I have a second to have Owen present this then?
Second.
Okay. All right, all in favor of Owen presenting with the following recommendations?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, Owen, do you have any questions for us?
No, that's all. Thank you.
Okay, all right.
Thanks, Owen. That looks
Owen,
good.
I
Thank
guess
you,
I have
Owen.
a couple more, Owen. When do you think you're gonna want to present this to the board? In April and May?
As soon as the next meeting is.
Okay, so just to give you a heads up, sir, I would need all of your material that you're going to present and costs no later than April 12th.
All right.
I have to have all that in hand, so if you can email that to Miss Dowling, that would be great.
Yep.
Thanks.
And
Thanks,
Jeff,
Evan.
Jeff, what's the date? I don't have it in front of me. The date of the next supervisors meeting, Wednesday.
Which would be April 19th, but we need the material 1 week prior, which would be the 12th. So we can put the books together and get things out to the board members.
Right.
Okay, Owen, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to email Ms. Dowling and she can reach out to the pro committee, the pro board, I'm sorry, I keep forgetting to say pro board, we fixed that the other day, to let us know if there's anything we can help you with, and good luck.
All right. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank
you.
you.
Thanks.
Okay, so going on to old business, I guess would be the perfect timing that as we were just talking about the little libraries and the healing garden. Dawn, can we have you speak on that?
Sounds great. And for those of you who don't know, Owen's sister did a Girl Scout project and did one of the, I guess it was a park bench or something that she did there too. So they're very excited about having both the kids have their projects at the garden together.
that's-
So
That's wonderful.
yeah, so that's really neat. But the little libraries are being built as we speak by the FSA, the Sportsman Association. We are doing 2 for sure, if not 3. One is for the Healing Garden for garden books. One is for the Tot Lot for kids books, and one's going to be over at the office. I'm thinking by where we do the big board and the recycle bins. There's a place right there beside the big board of announcements. I thought that might be a nice place. Jeff has put out that we're accepting donations for books at the office, and any extra books that we don't fit in or aren't appropriate, we'll donate to the Avon Grove Library. The Avon Grove Library, because we give them donations because we use the library, we don't have our own library, they agreed to help us with our reading program for the park, which I'm thrilled to pieces about. So I have talked to Lisa Sherwood, and she is working on the schedule because several parks had approached her about doing reading programs. So I foresee that kind of as being a reading trail so that young mothers and people can come from park to park on different days for different reading programs. It lasts about 45 minutes to an hour. It comes along with the person from the library does a musical song kind of thing with the book, and a little craft project with like construction paper or something like that, which I think is awesome. We can do it in the pavilion by the tot lot. And we have plenty of picnic tables and stuff in there. So I think that's thrilling. I'm so excited. She'll let us know. And as soon as I know the timing of that, I'll let everybody know. While Greg was away, I started the Healing Garden, Friends of the Healing Garden, so that we wouldn't let that drop. And we bought plant markers. And Betsy's daughter is working on the little metal plant markers for that. And we've also found QR code markers that we can buy and put next to the plants. So that people, I thought that was very progressive of us, that people could come in and, do it on their phone for the plants. And then we, the queens of the garden, while the king was in absentia, we're going to meet next week. We'll let Greg know what day we're going to meet over. That's going to be Mary and Betsy and I. And then we're going to set up a day to meet the garden. And we have 27 people on our Healing Garden group. And we'll have a meet the garden day so that people can come out, and we'll set up days and times so that we want to make sure that anybody weeding really has somebody there to help know what the plants are and where to weed and what to do. So we're going to be very thoughtful about how we do this. And then I have all kinds of ideas for sketching and drawing and photography and et cetera, et cetera. And then the one more thing that I thought of was I'm a bluebird girl. And I looked over and I saw the 2 bluebird boxes over at the top of the meadow. So I went over and I checked them out. Well, they're screwed closed. So I started asking around and I said, and I asked somebody who put in the bluebird boxes and who's watching the bluebird boxes. And I found that I don't think anybody's really monitoring the bluebird boxes. And I said, well, how many do we have? And Greg and Jeff very kindly went out and found 9 bluebird boxes. We're missing 1, but I have extra bluebird boxes, so I will donate another bluebird box. And Noah Osner volunteered and went over, counted, drew on the map where all the bluebird boxes are. So I want to start a bluebird trail. So that's a whole nother project that I'll need help. I'll need volunteers if any of you are interested in the bluebird trail. And also I found out we have bat houses. Who knew? So we need to get signs up for all the things we're doing. So there you go. That's what I've been up to.
Dawn, I had mentioned it to you before. Did you need any extra materials? I have all of those materials from that old tree house. Did they find enough materials?
Well, I'll tell you, I did tell Bob that you had it. So I put it in his court. I did give him your email and everything. I said you had it. I don't know what they're using and where they got it, but
okay.
Yeah,
I don't want to mess with their design, but if something
yeah,
comes up,
sorry,
let us know.
but
Okay.
I did offer you up.
Okay, thank you. Did you have anything to add, Greg?
Yeah, I was going to touch on the bluebird box stuff. So those were installed, I don't know what, 2 years ago by an Eagle
Boy
Scout.
Oh, Eagle Scout, yeah.
The one that's missing was apparently, I think, hit by the mower at some point, and I'm not sure if it was the Eagle Scouts family but somebody picked it up and offered to fix it. They said they were going to fix it. This was a while ago though. So I can try to reach out to them again. I think
Okay.
they actually posted on it's in the Friends of Crossing Park group.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so I think they have it and their intention is to fix it. I just don't know if it's actually done yet, but now is the time to get it back out there because they're getting going. Them them and the tree swallows are the, the two
Oh,
target
oh.
species.
Trust me, I think there is a family of tree swallows up above the meadow because they tried to kill me when I went and knocked on their
Yeah.
box.
Yeah, that's yeah. I mean, if somebody is going to monitor it, the tree swallows will swipe and sometimes like get your head or your head. I mean, they won't hurt you, but they'll kind of give you a warning.
Well, I have a question for you too. So when I went up and investigated, there were two houses closer together, more than 100, your 300
Mhm.
feet. So I
Right.
figured we put 2 and 2 and 2 and 2 all through the park
Right.
for the tree swallows and the bluebirds. So
Yeah.
or whoever.
Yeah, because a lot of times species don't really want to nest. Like usually it's not going to be like a bluebird right next to another bluebird family. So ideally you get, a bluebird in one box and tree swallow in the other box.
Right.
That's kind of the goal. As far as, I wish when he installed it, he put more of like a nail or something that we could easily pull out. But I think with a screwdriver or a drill, you can open them up because it is kind of challenging, but I have opened it. But yeah, I mean, it would be nice to monitor them. It's probably too late to I know you're kind of supposed to clean them out like late winter. So it's probably too late if they're already building a nest. We don't want to throw it all out. And
Well, Jeff was so nice. Jeff went out and counted them and looked at them all for me. And he thinks there's some bluebirds already in some of them. So we might get lucky. We might have it. So now that you're back, I will be in touch.
Yeah, I'll definitely, I'm interested in helping out with that for sure. It's as far there's other bird houses all over Franklin Preserve that were installed. I tried to find out who put these in, but I don't think anyone knows. I'm sure it was a scout or something at some point. But down by the triangle tree planting, that's like I think on 3 sides of that planting,
Really?
there's boxes. Yeah, they're not in the best shape, but they're still there.
Okay.
And they've been there for a long time.
Yeah,
So,
there's
I mean,
bat.
yeah, what were you say, the bat boxes?
I was going to say there are some bat boxes. There's an owl box. There's a
Yeah.
hawk box. So they're there. You have to look for them. But yes, that it was a scout that had done it.
Okay.
But
Yeah,
see, I'm the one from the museums and stuff that says you need a sign. You need a little sign there because people don't know what a bat box is. People don't know what an owl box is. So if we can find them and fix them up and put a little sign that says this with the, educational things in the park. That's what I
And
love.
that's something you could use, Don, the QR codes for that we could actually put on the sign
Exactly.
outside the bathroom. I did talk to Greg though. We still, with whether you put the plant tags or the QR codes, we still want to come back to getting one main sign that
Oh,
kind of has an
absolutely.
introduction and has the actual species, because there's also, a technology barrier. Not everyone's going to be out there with their phone. Not everyone, I think there's a certain age, not against anybody else, but some people just might not use a QR code. So I think we still want to have something also that children can see. Greg, you had said you had some ideas about maybe possibly a contact to get a nice, I was imagining a picture sign like you see at Longwood that kind of has a metal sign that has something like that.
Yeah, some information. What's that?
Oh, that'd be wonderful.
Yeah, I don't
You
really.
were saying a wood sign?
Yeah, the sign that I just learned about, or the contact, is actually apparently the prison does a lot of signs, and have done stuff for other townships. They even built some massive, my brother was showing me a big desk in one of the township offices, and he showed me some of the signs. They do some beautiful, they're wood signs, so they would have to, it would have to be wood, but for other purposes, he said they do it at a discounted rate. So that's just something to think about for
Well, I feel
other
like
signage.
this is your pet project, and this is like not your pet project, but this was your passion. Would you be okay like coming back to finding, a sign idea that we could have for the healing gardens and get some pricing?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I could look into it. I know we looked at that one. It was quite expensive, so I think we kind of lost our mojo on it after seeing
Yeah.
that.
I really just feel like with the garden coming back alive in the spring, we really could, if we could get a sign in there.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, ideally, I would like it to kind of just give a basic, understanding to people who come and explain that it's a native garden, what the purpose of a native garden is. It
Exactly.
supports the pollinators. Just the whole process of why it's there. And
Greg, do you have a high definition photo of what you want? Because we can get a sign made from that out of metal. But then I was also thinking about Kyle's skills. Maybe
Right.
something that she could create and work with you on, and then we can get printed on a metal sign, which would be highway grade, UV protectant, whatever. The better the picture I get, the better the turn.
Yeah, I'm the one that I feel bad. I just said the picture, but I think Greg was preferring a wood sign. Would it be possible to do the metal sign in one place? Can we do the metal sign in one spot and maybe do the wood sign like as the introduction? Like, could you do like a wood sign like as you're walking into the healing gardens?
I mean, I don't necessarily need a wood sign, but yeah, I would agree. If we were going to do that, it would maybe like what Jeff's saying, that sign for the information, and then just, a basic healing garden entry sign. That could be wood. But I mean, that's what I would love to see. I don't, it's not.
Okay. Well, you could get the contact information and reach out to the prison and see if maybe they even just have like a base price or a timeline, and then maybe work with Kyle or whoever to get a sign or something like a mock-up to Jeff to figure out if we could kind of get like some informational sign in the actual thing. I feel bad. I feel like I like the idea that Jeff had about the metal picture sign that was there and durable. Just because it might be just colorful.
We can think about it. I mean, I don't want to like get too much into detail about the species, because some, that can change. So if we put like, if we put 10 species of flowers, one dies off, they're not there anymore.
And that can always change with a QR code. We can have a QR code on the metal sign, and that can be linked to the website, and you guys that can be updated. Like the QR code information can be updated.
But yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking if we would do a photograph or like a graphic that Kyle is good at making.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, does anyone else have any opinion or input there?
I love the fact just a more of a generic, like you're saying, what a pollinator garden is, just so it's because people, I'm telling you, people need to be shown it right there.
Yeah.
What it is.
Yeah. I mean, just like a very entry level kind of definition and what the purpose of and the benefits of it are. So yeah, I mean, I think with that, we could either have a generic photo of, butterflies or flowers or have one of those cool graphics. Yeah.
Could I make a comment about these signs? We don't necessarily have to reinvent the wheel. A lot of gardens have already done a lot of this work. We just have to get on the internet, find out who did what, and I'll get in my car and go look at them and take pictures for everybody. It really, there's so many options out there that we shouldn't lock in right away. We need to see what's out there and what are they doing? What's working? What are people responding to? I mean, I think this is exciting. And we're not talking a whole bunch of plants. I think when I counted the plants in the garden, we're like 20 or less in the healing garden.
Right.
So it's certainly doable.
Yeah. A while ago, I kind of thought the same idea, and I was trying to take pictures when I would go to like other, like Mount Cuba. I took some pictures of some of the signs they had. So I can, I mean, I can't share it on my cell phone, but yeah, I mean, I agree. There's you know, we don't need to like come up with a fancy design. We can just kind of copy information and add some graphic or photographs in there.
And my only thing is, I feel like we've been talking about it for like almost 2 years. So is there
Yeah, we
like,
have.
is there like a way that we can kind of like, I feel bad, but does anybody have any objection of us just putting Greg in charge of it and let him pick the sign and work with the mock-up with the women who are the people who are helping with the healing gardens, and kind of come up with an idea and then just have something for the May meeting, some pricing and some ideas, so that maybe we could go ahead and get that on. So maybe hopefully get it in by June would be like a nice goal.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely would have to get approval from the supervisors.
No, I agree. But like, if you
Yeah.
brought some ideas to us for the May meeting, and then we could write it up and have them approve it at their May meeting.
Mm-hmm.
2 out of 3 of us say we're happy.
Okay, well, I
Are
need
you
to push.
okay
Oh.
taking that on, Greg?
Well, we haven't given you a cost yet, so don't.
Yeah,
don't get
so
too-
come up with some costs and obviously work with, you know, whomever you need to be. And I'm happy to take pictures. And Greg, also, if you have a couple people, you know, if you need phone calls made, let me know.
Okay. Yeah, I can.
If our
try
goal
to-
could be to try to maybe like, I feel bad, but I just know you and I were talking about that today. I feel like we've been talking about these signs for 2 years. I feel like
Yeah.
the only sign I cared about was that cross and park sign, but now we need signs in the park too.
Right.
So, okay, well, if we could, I guess if we're gonna just move on then, because I feel like we got a lot more stuff to go. So, I just, Paul sent an email, so, the open space information, it looks like it's gonna appear in the newsletter. Dawn, when is the newsletter going out, if you don't mind me asking?
I think it's being printed now. So Donna, correct, or Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's gone to the printer.
Yeah, I mean, I saw, I don't know if it was a prototype or the final, and it's, the open space information is right in the front. It's like the first, as soon as you as soon as you get the package out of the envelope, it's right there. So,
Okay, awesome.
Hopefully they started printing it today or yesterday.
Yeah, I knew it
There were
was.
some little words we had to correct, misspellings. Asked them to fix some of the pictures because they were all for cropped funny, and they've complied with all that.
Okay, it gets a little hard when you're trying to take one document and put it into another document, I'm sure, so.
Yeah, it looks good. It worked well.
Okay, well, thank you. And then, I know like our goal then is for then that to reach everybody in the township. I'll just reiterate because Paul's not here, but I know eventually Paul's gonna keep pushing it, but just we're really looking to maybe then eventually have the targeted letters, but that's something I think we can address after we see what kind of response we get from this newsletter. And then the other question I think that was an issue for Paul was, or that we've talked about, is how are we going to be getting the messages or the emails, Jeff, from the township? Because I know it's like extension 1 now.
Right, we kind of sorted it a compromise. So Stacy, our secretary, she's wonderful. She's extension 1. So if she receives any calls, it's going to be just the facts. Name, address, basic subject, a couple sentences, and then forward it along to the pro for
Okay,
you to follow up. Now, I do have an email address that I've created. So it's what's in the newsletter. I believe it's preserve@franklintownship.us.
okay,
And I do have a password. So if a member of the pro has Outlook, they would be able to access the emails and write emails.
okay.
But that
So
would be
Jeff,
something for the pro to manage and take care of.
okay. Do we have anybody on the pro that would like to take the lead on checking the emails?
I do not have Outlook, but if there's a way to do it without Outlook, I could do it.
Yeah, I don't have Outlook either.
I do have Outlook at work, so I can start with it and just see, you know, what type of level. I imagine it would be just checking it. And obviously it won't be something I would check every day, but I can actually add it to my Outlook calendar or my Outlook on work where it would actually like, it would actually give me a push notification, I think.
Yep.
Okay, so Jeff, I probably will reach out to you in person and maybe stop by one day to get that password and information.
Great.
Okay. And then Stacy, would she be able to, like, when she takes the voicemail message, to email us at our email address with that message?
Yep.
Okay. Does anybody have an objection to that plan for right now? Okay. All right. So we'll just leave that then. And if Paul has any concerns, he can bring it up at the next meeting.
I have a question.
Oh, go ahead,
Did-
Kyle.
Did Donna have a chance to look at Paul's correction on the frequent asked questions?
So I'm not sure. I know there was an issue with the 10 acres and I thought that was a good addition, but there's something else.
He made 3 corrections and I sent them in red to you, to Stacy. It was the first paragraph. It was like the 3rd or 4th paragraph, and then it was the 10 acres.
Okay, so I'm not aware of it. Jeff maybe you guys just accepted it and that's fine. Or I can look at my emails and because I don't know. I don't know where's the question answers at. Are they posted yet or?
No, they're not posted yet. Our main concern was the pamphlet for the website.
Okay.
And then now that's to print.
Okay.
Then we can work on the question and answers to go to the website.
So if you want to send it to me now, I'm happy to look at it, or if Stacy sends it to me again, I'll take a look at it. I just wasn't aware that it's a request.
Happy to have Stacy do it tomorrow.
Okay, that'd be great. I promise a quick turnaround. I get a lot of emails when I have multiple computers. So unless someone's telling me to look out for something, I'm not looking, I'm not seeing it. So I promise a quick turnaround once I see it.
Okay, thank you, Donna. And then my understanding is then that's going to be on the website page, right?
Correct.
Okay.
And also we should have available in case anybody asks a question or comes in the office that we have that also for them. Right.
Okay. And would that be something that, and nobody has an objection that if anybody has any other concerns that I could use that to then send in an email response? Would that be something, or I could direct them to the website? Okay. All right.
Or send it to them. I don't think that's a problem.
problem?
Okay. We're all in agreement with it. I mean, what I saw
Subject to
before was good. I don't know what the changes are, but I'm sure they're fine.
Yeah, I think they might just be more like clarifying the acreage you guys had talked about.
Yeah. And I thought that was a good catch. I didn't even know that. I totally, it wasn't there before, so I didn't take it out. I don't want anybody to think I took the 10 acres out, but I think it's really good for folks to know that we're not talking about someone with a quarter acre plot. It's somebody who has.
And the only thing is I think there was an issue that, and I don't know where it got left off, because I obviously got left off those emails that Paul said it could be a smaller acreage if it was connecting to 10 acres, something like that. But I think the ideal is what you guys had talked about. But there are instances that they would look at smaller plots if it was connecting some type of land. So, did somebody else have a question?
Yeah, I have a question. So, since I was away, I'm just trying to make sure I understand. So we're putting it in the newsletter?
Just the brochure, just the pamphlet is going to be in the newsletter. And then there's going to be the question and answer is going to be on the township website.
So we're not actually sending out like a specific brochure for
no,
this.
and right. And so that's the thing is, and then I think that's something when Paul is at the next meeting, he does want to address sending out some targeted letters, but I think that this was the compromise for now. And we didn't want to have this be put off because we do want to attract as many people now as we can, and why they still have the continued discussions that Paul wants to have, some specific, like if he has somebody specific in mind,
right? Target.
Something he'll have to address the board of supervisors about it.
Yeah, I'm just going to give you a warning. It's going to be a tough ask.
Right, and again, that's
I'm not for specific letters.
Okay, and that's something that Paul, I know he wants to address that again. So, I feel like we should take the bird in hand now.
See what it gives you. Yeah, right. Because if it's communication, this is a good way to communicate.
Yeah.
And Greg, it's up to you or Jennifer. It doesn't matter to me which one of you. If you want to come in sometime and we can pick a spot to put the question and answer to make sure that you like it, number one, I like it second, then I can put it in the right spot
You're talking about on the
I have
website.
no,
on the
yeah, and I have no
website.
problem with either Greg or I, but I have to be honest with you, I think Paul will want to have a say, so.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, I trust Jeff that he would.
I do,
put
I
it
absolutely, I
somewhere
trust you,
and-
Jeff, too. I mean, I think if it's something that, that if we see a lot of traffic, if we have to move it, we can move it later, but I think pick whatever your gut goes with, and then if we have to move it, we can always move it in,
I mean, I can help you if you are asking for help, but yeah, I trust you'll put it.
Yes,
you know.
please, I am.
Okay. Okay.
I am asking, so.
Okay.
And
Sure.
sometimes I think it helps just to have another person perspective, because you probably deal with the website so much that it becomes so much information that you're like, you can't even get through it all. So.
Mm, I'm somewhat easy to get along with, so stop in, we'll look at it, and then, when I can't sleep at night or on the weekends, I do website work, so I'm confident we'll come to an agreement.
Okay. Yeah, Greg, let me know. I mean, I live so close, so if you need help, let me know. But if not, whatever you guys decide works for us.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good.
So one issue that we had talked about, so if you guys don't mind, we're just going to move on to, there was an offer by Shane Morgan to have a table at White Clay Creek. We had kind of, excuse the pun, tabled the issue about whether we were going to have this table. No one's laughing. That hurts my feelings.
I chuckled.
I feel, Greg, nobody else was interested in doing it because it's on a Saturday. There was some discussion that it's not even in the township. Nobody
Yeah.
really knew what we would have to present. Greg, do you have any interest in manning a table at White Clay Creek State Park on May 6th?
I mean, honestly,
I would like to
probably
attend,
not.
but I just don't even know if I'm going to be home that weekend. Sorry.
I just don't, I mean, yeah, I think the issue would be like, what are we actually like
accomplishing
putting out there? Yeah, what are we
Right,
putting out to?
And Shane
I
just
mean, we
said
could
because-
have those brochure or whatever, but
yeah.
I think we're better off what we're doing with the newsletter than,
Okay, I agree.
sitting at a
And yeah,
table.
no one seemed interested. So Jeff, I will go ahead and email Shane and tell her, thank you, not this year, but perhaps in the future, at another time. But I would also like to go and see what they have, and then maybe that might be something we might be interested in adding on to.
And would she, maybe you could ask if she would be interested, like, can we give her any information that she could just put out, or does she like only want us to do it ourselves?
I really got the impression, and maybe Jeff could speak more to this, is like, she's offering us a table, but there's going to be vendors, there's going to be things. I
Okay.
think they don't want to be responsible for having papers everywhere.
Okay. All right.
Is that the impression you got, Jeff? It was like, it was an offer for us to have a table, but not really for them to provide anything, because there are going to be vendors and specific other organizations there. So
When
Right.
we get really sophisticated and have classes and stuff, we can do it.
okay. But I think if anybody could go, please try to go, because obviously we want to support what Shane does. And I think it's a great thing that if we go and see what it looks like first, and then we can maybe decide for a future time.
Yeah.
Okay. Moving along, Jeff, it keeps coming up because Kyle has it on the minutes, the Pico Trail. Do you have any update on the Pico Trail? No. Okay.
Not yet, it's on the list for the engineer and I and Matt Thompson.
Okay. So we'll just
Nothing scheduled yet. The most pressing thing for me has been the road program, so
Okay.
it's on the list, but I don't have anything.
Okay. And just because Paul sent it in his email, the porta potty, somebody had sent me a text about there was a Facebook post. I did see that Jeff was up as late as I was in the middle of the night responding to that. So it seems like that's been addressed, and you let the person know that the bathrooms are going to be open shortly because they still need to be tested. But you did have an update. You spoke with the plumber about possibly having it open longer.
Not really an update, but just I talked to our plumber electrician. He does feel that there is a way that we can do that for this winter. That's something we're going to discuss over the summer months. Right now, he has a lot of work he has to do, so he knows when he has some free time we'll go over and look at it, but he does feel it's doable. And we do have a nice, what I would call an attic space above the bathrooms and the building. So we have the room to house something.
Okay.
So it is doable, and then he'll give us some options that we
Okay,
can.
and so we'll bring this
look at.
back up whenever you get an update, Jeff, just let us know from the plumber, and then we'll just kind of table it until then. And if not, we'll fight about it again come September. So okay.
Great.
Hampshire, okay, so these are just items I'm gonna tick off. We still need the trail machine. I think that's something that Paul's looking into. I think he said last time I remember he was gonna get some pricing. As far as signage, Jeff, thank you. I guess Greg told me he actually is living close to Hampshire and said that the parking signs have been relocated.
Yes,
Okay. The metal sign, that has not been relocated though yet.
it has not.
Okay. All right. So we'll work on that. And then, I guess Paul, and I feel bad, but I was like, between you and Paul, you guys will decide about the sign.
Well, I know what my thoughts and decision would be.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, so Jeff wants to, I mean, he thinks that the 8-foot sign makes sense, so and the price isn't gonna be any cheaper for a 6-foot sign, and,
Okay.
so I don't, Paul doesn't rule
Yeah.
the world, I think.
Yeah, no, I agree. I guess I just, as long as it kind of like, I would prefer if me personally, if it just matched kind of the coloring of our other signs. I just feel like we have so many different signs everywhere, but if it could be the green and white, does anybody have an objection? Or is it too hard to paint it, Jeff?
let me try and show you something
Okay.
here. I don't know if you can see my screen or not.
Yeah, I can say, and
Yeah.
that's the Dockstader one that you
So-
had noticed before, yeah.
Right. This is the Sepilia wood. People sometimes call it African mahogany. So you can see that Neil Dockstader Environmental Center has a sign for them made out of this wood. So let me see here.
And that's a nice looking sign.
Yeah,
It is
it's
nice. And I have no problem if then all future signs resemble that. If we could try to get them to look.
Yeah, I think
similar,
it
so
has
that-
more character than this sign. The sign that you just showed initially,
right.
seems to have more character.
Now,
And
keep
it's
in
both sides.
mind, this is keep in mind, this is a computer rendering, so it's not perfect. And he couldn't get natural wood in a computer rendering. So
Right.
keep in mind that it would look like the Dockstader Foundation sign. It would be on a CNC router machine. It would be this design. It would look like this. It would be the raw wood. And then in time, as the wood ages, we would have the option of, say, the FSA painting it or staining it.
Okay.
But it's not something we have to do immediately.
It's not something that you need to preserve the wood. It's fine. without
Correct.
it.
Is that the only wood option he has? Is it that type, or is there other options?
Well, there's the Sepilia, which the Dockstader sign is made out of.
Uh-huh.
Or we could go with a white oak.
So why
Okay.
not go with the first one? It seems pretty, I think it has a nice look to it. The white oak is kind of boring. This is.
There was a concern. I don't know I think you addressed it, Jeff, but there was a concern. You said he already had that wood, but Paul's concern was the African mahogany was not native and maybe
Yeah, and
not a good
I
idea to use it.
I kind of feel similar. I mean, we don't need African wood. That seems pretty exotic to get
But
just
it's-
for our park
It's the
sign.
same, but it's the same price and it's a harder wood and it's gonna it has potential to last a little longer.
But I think it's the environmental impact of harvesting wood.
Right, and you're literally putting it on a sign that says a preserve. So
Yeah,
it's
so
kinda
maybe I just
giving a
have the
mixed
same
message.
problem. Trees are a renewable resource. You can grow new trees. So, and this isn't a black market. We're buying wood that's gonna go, I mean, I don't see it as an environmental insult.
Well, Jeff, let you speak, because I think you actually said he called it that, but it wasn't actually necessarily African wood.
It's called Sepilia. It's that he said that is the better name for it. It's not actually African mahogany. Now, I talked to 2 wood brokers, one in Franklin Township, Good Hope Hardwoods, Skip. And then I talked to another broker, I think it was in Mississippi. And they both informed me this wood is, you can buy this wood. They do harvest it for sale. Just because you can get the wood doesn't mean it's black market. The one in Mississippi said one of his biggest clients is a guitar company that buys that wood.
Is there any concern though, I mean, that, you know, I know he has the wood on hand, but then like, as we go to make signs in the future, that he can't get the wood again, whereas like, we know we can always get white oak. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I also don't, I feel like I would be hard pressed to make a decision myself personally, because Paul's not here and he's been so adamant about it, and I don't want to make anybody mad, but I know everybody's, you know, does anybody else have any concerns?
I mean, looking up the wood, it's considered a vulnerable species of wood from the Congo. Just seems like pretty exotic for a township in Pennsylvania, that's all. And yeah, trees are renewable until they're not. I mean, you can cut trees down and they won't come back if you take too much of it.
But then you plant them.
But if it's responsibly harvested, we still shouldn't buy it.
I mean, it's hard. I
agree with everything Greg's saying, and I understand where Don is coming from. But I guess my thing is, if there is this if we could use white oak and it is here, and we know that we'll never ever have to like irresponsibly take it from Africa and also have to worry about shipping it here and stuff like that. I mean, like, those are the things that I also get worried about, is the environmental impact of having to ship materials into the United States.
Well, Jennifer, that's, I think, a big issue. I mean, you have to look at the cost of shipping items, the fuel, you know, the impact on the environment. If white oak is here, it's kind of a no-brainer, I think, even if the other wood's more beautiful, which it was
not beautiful, but will last long. I mean, once again, it's not that big of a deal for me, but
exactly.
I'm happy that that you're agreeing with going with the 8-foot sign, because I think that it's the same price. And
I didn't necessarily agree with that, but I understand. But is this something that we need to, do we have pricing, Jeff? Because I know we do. Okay.
It's $1,800.
And that's for the 8-foot sign?
That's for the 8-foot sign, and that's installed.
I personally don't have an issue with the size. Just the species of wood is questionable in my eyes.
Well, let's go with white oak so we can get it done.
Okay, and it's $1,800 for white oak?
It's $1,800 installed. It's no different.
Okay, and do we have an agreement on the language? I don't know where we had left off on the language.
Well, it's what I had up.
It's just saying Banffshire Park, right? Like Paul was fine.
Banffshire Preserve.
Preserve, okay.
It's, let me see if I can get it up here again.
And Greg, you technically are still the chair, so do we have enough people to have a vote?
We should. I think you just need, how many people do we have?
So we have everybody but 2.
Yeah.
Kyle,
so
Heather,
5?
Jennifer, Greg, and Mary.
Yeah, that's 5,
okay.
Right? Yeah.
Greg, do you want to make a motion to?
Sure.
I'm going to poke in one thing, which is that I know on one of Paul's emails, he said something about preferring 6 feet as opposed to 8 feet. Does anybody else
absolutely did,
that?
and I will say that he did say he preferred 6 feet. I don't know if anybody wants to chime in. I don't really know what his reasoning was for that, and if it sounds like what I've heard from Jeff is that it doesn't change the price. his email did say that it doesn't matter whether it's 6 feet or 8 feet. It wouldn't be it would not be in whatever that zone is. What's the name of the zone, Jeff?
The site triangle, we
Site
would make sure it's out of that so it's safe for the motoring public.
Mhm.
I think he was just thinking about like a reasonable size that a motorist driving by would see it, and it's not stretching so far back, because obviously it's gonna have to show both ways. And that, given the, people aren't going by like at, 60 miles an hour there. So, but I can't speak for him. I just know that he.
No,
had
I
his
know,
reasons
and
for-
that is my hesitation. Obviously, but I do also feel like we need to make a decision.
All right, why don't you
So-
trust Jeff with this one? He knows, let Jeff decide which is the, I mean, this has to
What
come.
I'll do-
Yeah, this has to
What
come
I'll do-
anyways. Right, so you'll make a recommendation, will come to the board and then we'll say, yeah, because this is not like a couple $100, this is almost 2,000. Bring it to the board, and Jeff, I'll be looking for your recommendation. You know the area, what size do you think makes sense? And that's what I would support.
Yep, at the end, I will meet with the sign company again. We'll do a mock-up. If it's 8 feet, it's 8 feet. If it's 6 feet, it's 6 feet. So
Or if we have
I
to
want to do
compromise, and
something that's,
make it 7 if you have to compromise, but whatever you need to do.
no, but just understand, if it's 6 feet, it's still $1,800. If it's 8
I
feet,
understand.
it's still $1,800.
And me personally, I'm more worried about the material than the size. But
Yeah.
if is that kind of where you are with, okay, so I say we just go ahead, Greg, make a motion, and then when we write
Okay.
it up, we'll pretty much leave it in the book, Donna, for Jeff to make the final decision, and to, when we present it to the board, that we were still slightly up in the air.
All right, so I'll make a motion to recommend that we purchase a 8-foot wide white oak sign for Banffshire Preserve. All those
I
in
second.
favor?
I second.
Oh, I'm sorry, can I get a second? Sorry, I'm rusty. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right,
All right.
we will recommend that.
Okay, all right. So, and then, and also in Paul's email, he said that Paul and Jeff were getting some pricing on the playground equipment. Jeff, I'm not gonna put you on the spot, and just because we don't have Paul's pricing either, but I'm just gonna keep that on the agenda for the future. Does that sound something like we want to keep
Great.
continuing to look for the zip line? Okay.
Great.
And then I apologize. I actually went out with Greg today to see the location, and I think, it'd be something that would be a nice update. Does anybody have any comments or completely opposed to the zip line, or can we keep looking for pricing?
No, I don't have, I mean, I'm also a zip line proponent because we've been looking at it before, but just be aware as a one of 5 board members, it's not something that we're going to have a bunch of volunteers put up. It needs to be installed by people that are accredited, just from a
Right.
liability perspective. So
I completely agree. Yeah, it's
just
definitely
can't mess
something that,
around with this. Yeah.
it's not like an arbor. It has to be done for
Yeah.
safety.
And can I ask, are we still looking at putting it near the cell towers on that side of the playground? Is that where you guys are thinking?
Yes,
Okay.
In that grass area?
yes.
Okay,
Okay, that's what Greg and I were looking at today. Okay, great.
yeah.
Okay, all right, so moving on to, and this is still old business, but these things are more current and they're time sensitive. Kyle had checked the minutes, and we're coming up around the time about whether we need to start treating for the Canadian thistle. I have to be honest, Craig, told you I was gonna try to go back and look for the November meeting minutes. I have like everything saved except for November for some reason. Kyle, do you have any thing that you could just tell us about what the last discussion of Canadian thistle was?
I did look it up.
Oh,
but-
you did find
but
it.
Kyle, yeah,
All
Kyle,
I-
you can go ahead.
Yeah, Red Tail treated it, and we used half the money,
Mhm.
and then half the money was supposed to be used in the spring for them to treat it again. And I just said to Jennifer, we need to get on this if it should be treated now.
Greg?
Yeah, I
don't know
agree.
when it needs to be treated.
So yeah, that's, I mean, what you said, that's what I saw as well. We spoke with Red Tail. We got approved 750 total for treatment, and we spent half of it, which I think was like 5 gallons total of the spray. So yeah, I would say that we just reach out to Red Tail and get them to finish up what we, planned on doing, and then kind of go from there with it.
And so my understanding is then the Board of Supervisors have already approved the amount.
Yeah,
Okay.
from what I understand, everyone can double check, but I believe it was approved for 750 back in November, or it was probably, so after our meeting in November. And again, just to make sure everyone understands, it's not, I'd be very surprised if this issue is going to be gone after like spraying it this spring. Like it's
an ongoing concern.
It's an ongoing concern. Yeah. So, it's just kind of keep winning battles, and hopefully you win the war.
And I keep saying my cul-de-sac is going to be the test subject of whether you need to treat it or not, because our whole cul-de-sac is filled with it. Actually, it's right across from Dave Gerstenhaber's house. So he'll be able to look at it every
blame
time.
him.
Oh, it's horrible. I've dealt with this. So you gotta stay on it. It could take years. You gotta stay.
It's so strong that even like you use a chemical, and it can get used to that chemical where you have to switch and start using a different chemical. And
it also produces a whole root system underneath. That's how it supports itself. So even if you try to kill some of them at one end, they still have the buddies down the other end, and then they start sprouting again.
Right.
So,
and then it has that little white fuzzy stuff on it that just goes everywhere and just
floats.
Itself.
Yep.
Okay. Greg, do you mind reaching out to the gentleman at Red Tail and just seeing if we could get on the schedule or when he recommends we need to get it done?
Yeah. And I read his email. His last email did say about getting out there in the spring. So okay. Yeah, I can definitely do that.
And then Jeff, is that just something that Greg would just reach out to you to, when we get the invoice, to have that paid, assuming that all our ducks in a row and that I feel like that amount was already approved?
I feel it's approved. If Greg ends up talking to the gentleman from Red Tail, if he can just include me in on the email, that's good enough.
Okay.
I can do that.
Okay, so then the next other urgent concern is
wait, one.
Sorry, Pat.
I was going to tell Jeff, I saw PennDOT out there in looking at the culvert like a week and a half ago. I don't know, at Goodwin.
Great.
I don't know. Did you know they were out there?
I did not. I've been pushing them for weeks. I first alerted them about it, so 9 times out of 10, I won't be told when it's replaced, but they have the plate on and they have a sign up that keeps blowing down.
Yeah, I didn't know, with treating this, and if you had any idea when they were going to be doing anything out there.
If I knew, I would gladly tell you. Red Tail might have to come in from the West Grove side instead of the Landenberg side, but if they want to, I'll make sure they get in there, even if I have to drive them.
Right. Craig, is that something? Greg, can you include that in your email to them, just that there might be, they might need Jeff's assistance to get out there to treat it?
I'm sorry, what am I including?
Greg, there is a culvert pipe right at the entrance on Wickerton Road that PennDOT has to replace. Okay. I don't know when they're going to do it. I keep asking and asking them. So it could be tomorrow or it could be 2 months from now. So instead of him coming in through the Landenberg side, Red Tail may have to come in through the West Grove side. So in case they have the road tore up there, replacing that culvert pipe.
So if they're actually doing.
Yeah, it's between Churchill Road intersection and the actual driveway for the preserve. It's that culvert pipe is in there.
Okay. Yeah, I can I'll add that just so he's aware.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so then the other urgent concern we have is that we still haven't been able to put the stone around the trees at Crossin. I don't know where we are with that. I think Paul was trying to reach out to Matt about using his machine. I know he always asks Heather if Heather's machine's fixed. Heather?
Sorry, trying to find, I'm like, yes, it is. As
It
of
is.
3 days
Oh, if
ago,
we keep
it
asking.
is.
Nice.
So,
Heather, could we put you in charge of reaching out to Paul and seeing if you could, if that's something that we possibly could borrow your machine for?
yes, you can.
Okay, all right, so put that on the minutes, Kyle. She said it's fixed.
And can I add, like, so I know there's a little bit left. I was just out there a day or two ago of the stone pile that from the mulching, and Paul might have the answer, but like, did we plan on getting more? Because I doubt that's going to cover that big area.
Greg, we have enough at the office, so whether Paul wants to put that in the back of his truck or he wants me to get Jim to deliver it, we could get that done. I can't imagine you're gonna need more than a ton or two.
Okay.
So it's
cool.
in stock. It's just a matter of getting it there.
Okay.
So I would just ask for a couple days' notice if you want us to do it.
Okay. And
Heather, if you could reach out to Paul on Monday and just let him know that your machine's fixed, and then I'm sure Paul will take it and run with it and probably reach out to Greg. And then I'll just text Paul and let him know that Heather's machine is fixed. Greg has some free time on his hands and that Jeff is willing to get more material out there if we need it.
Did we say welcome back?
Yes, thank you. Not to put too much pressure on you, Greg, but yes.
No, I volunteer to help with that project. I want to get that finished up.
Okay. And just, this is kind of an aside, but Greg and I talked about this today. We keep talking about more trees, but we really need to take care of the trees that we have planted. Because, the kind of ties in with needing the tubes replaced in Goodwin. So we just don't want to lose the trees that were planted in Crossin with all the work Greg did, and then all the trees that were planted years ago in Goodwin. So, I know we keep talking about more trees, but we really need to take care of the trees that are there. So this is like a priority. And I think once we can get these two things done, then, then we could talk about maybe getting more trees, planted in the township and some other stuff. So, okay. So I will send that text to Paul. And Donna, we don't need to add that to the book or anything, right? Because this is just an ongoing thing.
Yeah, I think that's fine. Sure, we've been talking about it for a while.
Okay. Okay. And then we had talked about the hemlock and mowing schedule. This was on Paul's email, but we've talked about this before. Do we know, Jeff, when do you think they can mow so we can make sure we address it and the hemlock doesn't grow?
They will mow approximately the first week of July, and then they will mow approximately on or about the first frost.
Will that address the hemlock? I don't know enough about it, whether we know.
Greg's more the expert, but I think if we cut it twice a year, it will certainly help. It won't hurt it. So Greg would have to speak to the treating part. I couldn't tell you about that.
Yeah, the only thing I would worry about is if we may need to move up the mow in July, if possible. I don't, just because if it goes to flower too soon, but I got to research again what the recommendation is on that. But that might work. That might be fine. You said first week of July, right?
Right. And Greg, that could change slightly, depending on the weather. And since the majority of the time they donate their time to do this, it could be a week or two before or a week after. So if we show flexibility now with them and not do it like a day or two before,
right,
I think we're more apt to get it done.
Okay. So I will put it back on the agenda for next month so that we just address it. Maybe by then Greg will have figured something out. And then if we need to say, maybe mid-June instead of July, we can, you're just saying, Jeff, we need to give them like a heads up ahead of time.
More
Well,
notice.
I'm not trying to take anything away from the pro committee, but why do we need to put this back on? I'm confident
that's-
enough that I can work with Greg. And then between the two of us, I can work with the Hawkins and the Roberts.
That sounds great. That absolutely sounds great.
Yep.
And then if Paul asks, I'll just say we discussed it and it's being addressed.
Yep.
Okay, awesome. So taking it off, crossing it off right now. Okay. All right. All right. So moving on to new business. Greg, you had mentioned the garden plot.
Oh, yeah, well, I mean, we talked about it, but yeah, I just wanted to bring up that garden plot down by the what's it called?
The lower pavilion.
Yeah, the lower pavilion was gone, and I wasn't sure what was going on there, but Jeff had mentioned that it was obviously removed and the bench is going back in. Is that for sure, Jeff, or is that still not
Is what for sure?
the bench?
The bench is definitely going in.
Okay.
The bench was facing the woods. So to give credit where credit's due, Matt Thompson said, hey, can we turn that bench around so it faces the gazebo and then that open field? So the gentleman that we have that opens and closes the park works at a machine shop. So he took the bench off. He's getting the proper material. The bench will be switched, and then he'll install it back.
Right.
And then I was thinking, I love Greg's idea with, here I go, the memorial trees. Plant some memorial trees around it. And I'm going to try and work with Matt Thompson. If you guys can imagine it, between the parking lot and that bench, to put in some sort of a berm to help direct that water off into the woods. There's a lot of water that comes down that lane.
Oh, and
So
runs
after
over the
talking to-
asphalt.
Yeah, so after talking to Mr. Thompson, it certainly seems very, very doable.
Okay.
Mhm.
And that sounds more like a maintenance issue too. So like, that's not something
Yep.
that, okay.
Yep.
And
Okay.
just to piggyback on that, we did discuss that we need to confirm memorial tree pricing for this year. And then, once we have the prices, we can kind of put it out there and market it a little bit more again.
Yes, I've gotten better with the website and then also Adobe. So we're able to make professional looking forms now. So if
Nice.
someone wants to download the form, they can type it, fill it out on their computer and then send it back in. Trying to
Okay,
make
cool.
it easier. And then
Nice.
at some point, Melissa is working on us being able to accept credit cards for building permits. And then this could be another option, but it's like anything else, there's a process to go through, and she's had a lot on her hands, and it's something she wants to accomplish.
And if you guys need any help with that, because we do take credit cards at work, the only advice I would give you is the more often you can take a check, the better, because credit card fees vary between 3% and 6%. And especially
No,
if you're taking a memorial tree, you'd probably want to get as much of the donation as possible.
No, I completely understand, but it's amazing, Jennifer, the amount of people that have asked, can I use a credit
I'm
card?
sure. We have jobs where people want to pay 3,000-4,000 up to 60,000 on a credit, and I said that's fine, but we're going to charge you the 3% credit card processing fee. So I would say as a township,
That's what I was
as
just
a
going to say. The same
taxpayer,
thing, Jennifer, is that you could if someone wants to use a
Give them
credit
the
card,
option.
great, but they need to be charged the fee.
yeah.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I'd say the township should charge the fee, and then I would just say that if Memorial, just say obviously we're not going to charge them the fee because they're making a donation, but that percentage would need to be considered, and because we're gonna lose that money when we're buying the tree, so.
Let's just give them the option. We're not pushing credit cards, but the credit card option's there if they want it.
Okay. Okay. Okay, does anybody else have anything new to add?
I just wanted to thank Jeff because Jeff worked with one of the new flag football teams, and they're going to help with the garden, and they're also going to help weed around the charcoal grills and one of the lower
Good.
benching gardens. So thank you,
that's
Jeff, for
awesome.
them.
Yep. You're welcome.
Is that adult flag football or child flag football?
Actually, Jennifer, I think they have both.
Oh, okay, awesome.
So allowing them to use a little bit of storage space, just to repeat what Dawn was saying, they'll maintain the 2 raised wooden flower beds in front of the big brick building. Make sure the barbecues don't have any weeds around them. You know how stuff grows up there. And then that great octagon Girl Scout bench, they'll work on keeping that weed free. And then if at some point we need to put mulch in it, as long as we can supply the mulch, they'll gladly spread it. And one of the members I talked to seems like a gardener that Dawn would love. And they may, sounds like they may be willing to help with the healing garden too.
That's awesome. Thank you, Jeff.
You're welcome.
Does anybody have anything else to add?
I'll just add that I one day went out to cross into the meadow area on the other side of the White and up a couple of the mature trees there. There was a bunch of invasive vines pulling on them. So
Okay.
and I found some trash while I've been there. So.
We lost a little bit of you there for Greg. You said you went out to White Clay.
I went out to on the north side of White Clay near Paradox.
Oh, okay.
Cleaned off a couple of mature trees there. There were some invasive vines, and I found some trash while I was in there, so got some of that stuff out.
Thank you.
Thank you, Greg.
Thank you. Is there a lot more trash out there? Is that something that they need to focus on during the cleanup?
Yeah, no problem. No. Oh, but that reminds me. No, it was just like some random bottles that might have been there for 20 years and other stuff.
What
But,
we've done.
The cleanup, where actually are you doing the cleanup?
Yeah, Greg, what we've usually done in the past when there's smaller children with adults, they'll put them in the park or an area that's less dangerous and not out along the road. So if there are moms and dads with smaller children, we'll direct them to the preserve or Crossing Park.
Okay.
But mainly it's going to be clean up along the roadways.
Are you getting a dumpster like you did in the fall, Jeff?
What we're going to do is short answer is no. The longer answer is we're going to have our contractor, what we've done in years past is he puts his dump truck out there. If people are able to bring the trash back to the township building, they can either toss it back to the dump truck or just place it along the side of the dump truck. And if there's anything too heavy or dangerous or a dead animal, staff can make a decision if we know where it is to go out and pick it up with a shovel or do what we think is safe so no one gets hurt.
And so like you say dangerous, like the last time we were picking up batteries and stuff like that, should they leave the batteries in place or bring the batteries to the township if it's possible?
Well, when I think of dangerous, Jennifer, I think of hypodermic needles.
Oh, okay.
Or ammunition.
Oh, okay. Yep. Okay.
So if I say this, if a mom or dad feels comfortable using a pair of gloves and bringing it back to the township, great. If they don't, then put an orange flag next to it and then send me an email or tell someone else where it is, and then we'll pick it up in a couple days.
Okay.
Comes down to what people feel comfortable and safe with.
No, and what type of equipment they show up with, like if they don't have the right gloves or stuff like that.
Yeah, just to let you know, we do have gloves. We do have the nitrate. I'm not saying they're surgical gloves, but they look like surgical gloves. Eye protection, orange vests, and we do have more than enough plastic bags.
Okay.
And waiver forms.
Okay. Okay, does anybody have anything else to add? Okay, the only question I have, Jeff, is you just need everything written up by 4/12?
Let me look at the calendar. Yes, April 12th, do or die.
Okay, and I will fight with Greg, rock, paper, scissors on who's gonna.
I was hoping you were gonna volunteer.
Okay, I don't think there's gonna be as much stuff to write up, so maybe I'll start, Greg, and send it your way, and if you have anything to add, just because, we could try to just division of labor, but I am moving my
Yeah,
mom out. I'm moving my mom that week, so I'm a little stressed about, all that stuff, so.
Sure,
okay.
yeah, let me know. We can figure it out or split it or what, yeah.
I feel like I'm
Whatever-
stuck in
whatever.
front of, I'm behind a computer a lot more often than you are. You're out enjoying, being back in the States, but sometimes I'm stuck in a meeting for like 2 hours and I can type a lot, and sometimes I can't type anything, so. Okay, if anyone.
All right, well, we can discuss.
Okay, if no one has anything to add, I think, feel bad with Paul not being here. We're ending like a half hour earlier than normal.
Now you run a
Does
good
everyone
meeting.
have
You do a great job. Excellent.
Yay,
really-
team!
Yeah,
Thank
I
you,
agree.
Jennifer.
All right, take care, and we'll see everybody on May 3rd, I think it was.